I know someone who can help us. Let me get her online. Hi, Artsy Mama Bee.
Hi, Artsy Mama Bee.
Hello, Rainbow Ruby. Hi, Billy Shakespeare. Hi, friends.
This is our friend, Artsy Mama Bee. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Artsy Mama Bee. I am a visual artist, academic coach, ukulele player, and puppeteer from Blacktown. So, guys, how can I help?
Well, Billy and I would love to learn about the history of stories and about how to write stories.
Sure, I can help you with that.
Yay!
Yay!
Shall we get started?
Let's begin.
The history of stories. We see and hear stories everywhere. Stories are used to communicate thoughts and ideas. They can also be used to persuade or entertain. We tell stories to record and share many things that others may find valuable about the past, the present, or even the future. Since the beginning of time, human beings have used stories to make sense of life and to understand the changing world around them. Here is a brief story of storytelling. Visual storytelling. Human beings have always been visual creatures. Images have always been an effective way to tell stories about life and survival. Cave dwellers used pigment paint made from charcoal and ochre on cave walls with their hands to create stories and myths, a magnificent evidence of the earliest form of art. 35,000 years ago, in a cave in Chevet in France, early humans painted the earliest versions of stories. Although not as fancy as today's social media posts, the caves featured pictures of many animals such as bison, deer, mammoths, and hunters. The cave paintings showed stories of the hunt, the rituals, and survival. 5,000 years ago, hieroglyphic writing was all the rage in ancient Egypt. It is considered to be one of the world's earliest writing systems. Much like emojis today, hieroglyphs can be read either as pictures, as symbols for objects, or as symbols for sounds. These sacred stories from ancient Egypt were carved on stone temple walls and public monuments. Oral tradition. The tradition of passing down songs, chants, epic poetry, myths and legends date back to different eras in all cultures all over the world. These spoken stories were passed down by word of mouth and were used to create bonds between communities and teach us about cooperation, social values, and traditions. Although oral story may seem like an ancient practice, we still use this skill in our everyday lives. Puppet theater. Dating back from the 4th century BC, shadow play became a source of entertainment that combined storytelling, music, and moving shadows. Originating in Asia, shadow puppetry spread in popularity throughout South India, China, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Korea, and Japan. Shadow puppets are flat and transparent leather or paper cutouts fastened to one supporting stick and manipulated by at least 2 other thin sticks and rods. The puppets are then placed behind a cloth panel as light is cast against them, forming surreal moving images that brought fantastical stories to life. During the 14th century in the Ottoman Empire, shadow play were also performed in Turkey and Greece. They reached limited popularity in France during the 18th and 19th centuries, as they became known as ombres chinoises, or Chinese shadows. It is uncertain when the first glove and hand puppets were performed in Britain, though there is evidence of puppetry dating back at least 600 years. Glove and hand puppets became popular with traveling minstrels and other medieval entertainers, and the word puppet became common in 14th century England. Today, puppets remain a popular way to tell stories in a unique and imaginative way, as seen on TV, in movies, and of course, on the internet. Written word and the invention of paper. 770 to 750 BC. The ancient Greeks were the first known civilization to develop writing and use it for storytelling. The Greeks were so passionate about storytelling, their oral stories were transferred into written poems to help storytellers and the ancient actors remember and perform the whole story. Long before paper was invented in China in 105 AD, clay, papyrus, wood, slate and parchment, or prepared animal skins, were used to record stories through drawings and writings. Because records were kept in writing, stories of many cultures in history have survived through time, reaching many different places and people, advancing humanity to where we are today. In 840 AD, Chinese monks created block printing mechanisms to set ink to paper using wood blocks, combining both the visual storytelling with a new mechanical printing technique that would eventually change the speed stories could be shared. In Europe during the Middle Ages, between 1100 AD until the early 1400 AD, books were meticulously handcrafted by monks and artisans in scriptoriums. A scriptorium was a workroom in a monastery where books were written. It was a place where books were copied and illuminated or painted. A scribe wrote a text for a book, and an artist, called an illuminator, painted the pictures and decorations. Scribes and illuminators made each book by hand, copying available texts that monks exchanged with other monasteries or which came from the monastery's own library. These books were not for sale. Instead, they were used by the church and the people who were in power, as many citizens were not able to read or write. The technological advancement of storytelling happened in 1440 AD, when the German goldsmith and inventor Johannes Gutenberg invented the movable typing press. His machine changed the world because the Gutenberg printing press allowed books to be produced in greater numbers and with much more speed than ever before. Because of mass printing, news, information, ideas, knowledge, and tradition became easily and readily available to so many people that it paved the way to our modern world. Animation. The earliest cave paintings show us that human beings have been attempting to depict things in motion for as long as we've been able to draw. Animation is the art of making lifeless or inanimate objects move and come to life. It started becoming widespread in Europe and in North America in the 18th and 19th century as the Industrial Revolution began to transform the way we tell stories in the modern world. In 1662, about 200 years before photography was born, Dutch scientist Christian Huygens invented the magic lantern, or the lantana magica. Using optical lenses and powered by candlelight, it quickly became a big attraction and was an entertainment machine that was considered to be related to alchemy and the mysterious arts. The magic lantern projected images using painted pictures on sheets of glass. Since some sheets contained moving parts, it was considered to be the first example of projected animation. It quickly became a popular touring attraction that provided spectacular entertainment and education in the way that cinema does today. In 1834, a mathematician named William Horner invented a device named the Daedalium. It later became known as the zoetrope. This early form of animation technology is made from a cylinder with slits cut vertically in the sides. Inside the cylinder were strips of painted or press-printed images, which were sequential or in order. This means the scenes in each image follows the one before it, and while the cylinder is spun, it gives the illusion of movement. The first stop-motion film produced was in 1898's The Humpty Dumpty Circus, a short film made using dolls with jointed limbs to simulate the movements of circus acrobats. Soon after, what followed was the continuing innovation and evolution of animation, from the 1900s silent cartoons, the 1920s claymation and other stop-motion animation, the 1930s classic animated films, 1940s to 1990s film and cartoons on TV, and today's 3D computer animation films and shows. Animation became a magically creative way to combine our ancient love for visual, written, and oral storytelling. Photography. Much like in the earliest days of human history with cave paintings, photography has the power to tell an entire story through the capture of just one moment in time. The first man to ever produce a photograph was French inventor Joseph Nicephore Niepce in 1826. Throughout the 1800s, the 1900s until now, many different photographic cameras were developed, from film cameras to digital cameras to phone cameras. Photography has evolved throughout the decades, telling billions of stories through images, and now we use our cameras every day to record our lives and share our own stories. The radio. In 1886, the German physicist Heinrich Hertz first identified and studied radio waves. In 1895, the Italian inventor and electrical engineer Guglielmo Marconi developed the first radio transmitters and receivers. It was then known as the wireless telegraph, which was initially an instrument to transmit Morse code through radio waves. After a few years, the radio became available to the masses and played an important role in people's lives. The 1920s became the golden age of radio. The accessibility and speed of broadcasting changed the modern 20th century.
Radio's magic ingredient was your imagination and mine.
Now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama. Old Pete Belden, driver of the jitney from Carsonburg to Copper Springs, has a double load today.
Come on, the house, quick. We'll get the boys together and we'll go after.
No, I'll take the jitney into town and get my car.
All right, Betty.
Hello?
Radio stations broadcasted news, music, sports, drama, and variety shows, and families would gather around a big console that was usually located in the living room, where they might spend hours listening to voices and stories from people anywhere in the world on the airwaves. Film and television. Photographs were put into motion in 1895 by the Lumiere brothers when they invented the first motion picture camera and projector called the cinematograph, where the word cinema comes from. From silent films to the talkies and then Technicolor, moving film became the most popular way to show stories that would change the way we see the world. Although many inventors tried to make mechanical televisions between the 1800s to the 1900s, the first electronic television was invented in 1927 by a 21-year-old American inventor, Philo Taylor Farnsworth. Between the 1940s until the early 2000s, television has influenced the way human beings think about social issues through the wide-ranging stories shared in many different cultures. The digital age.
You're going surfing on the internet.
But it's very hip to be on the internet right now.
The internet gave us a whole world of exciting new possibilities. So I guess this is a story of how it changed our lives. Maybe it will yours too.
Although the internet was developed in 1969, the official birthday of the modern-day internet was January 1, 1983, when researchers began to assemble the network of networks. However, it wasn't until 1990 when Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web that the internet as we know it today began to take shape and grow to become a part of our daily lives as a tool to share our stories with the world. Stories are what makes us human. It's a way for us to connect with other people, even if they live in a different place or time. Through narratives, we can learn more about ourselves, others, and the world around us. There will never be another person like you in history. Your many different experiences in life make up the unique person that you are, and this is what precisely makes you a good storyteller. Think about what thoughts and ideas you want to find answers to. What questions do you want to explore? What ideas do you wish to share with others? What is your story?
Hi guys! If you enjoyed that video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye!